You can see an awful lot of that, as we mentioned just before, during the film. Thought points of it in your work, you know, and in the, you know, the different shows, the different episodes that you do bring out between God and Jeffrey, and you sort of take God and you push him to an extreme, you know, and Christians will say, oh, he does this because of this, and then you would take that and you would put, you know, like a human touch to it, you know, as if God was a human, the reasons behind why. Sort of leans more and gives it more of an attachment to us, where we can see not the evil in God, but the sort of the hypocrisy of, you know, what the Christians say and what the Bible says. A particular video I do personally like of yours is the free will one, where you have a woman and a child and they're being, you know, attacked and murdered and raped and this, and it's like, I can't do anything because of the free will, yet the rapist is attacking the woman. He's obviously changing her free will, and the philosophical idea behind that, it shows the hypocrisy of it.
Right. God is valuing the rapist and the murderer's free will over that of the victims, when he chooses not to interfere. And even if just some people who had the power to stop it were to stand by and watch, we would think very lowly of them for not trying to do something. But God, who has infinite power and who sees it the moment it happens, who knows beforehand that it's going to happen and still does nothing. Well, we're supposed to praise this being and love this being and think so highly of this being, when I just can't, I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, if we were to stand back and watch and something like that was happening, it would be difficult for us to go and do that, because we have the empathy towards other people, because we care for other people. Humanists. So we try to do what's best to minimize pain, and to sit back and actually watch something like that happen, you're a bit of a dick.
Right. And Christians have all kinds of ready-made arguments for that, which you know fall apart when you don't even have the free will element to it, when you don't have the choice to do evil element of it, when it's just natural pain and suffering from, you know, an animal in the middle of a forest fire who is going to burn to death and suffer immense pain. And, you know, what's the point of that? If you're a God and you are benevolent, and, you know, the world should not have unnecessary suffering, just, you know, by your very nature, and yet it's full of unnecessary suffering.
Yeah, everybody knows that the world is not the best. We all go through pain, we all go through something. We have to build ourselves up, and we try and work our way through it, where you would find Christians just sort of push it back and go, you know, the shifting of the blame. It's okay because God has done this, or it's okay because God works in mysterious ways. Like, fuck. You know,
yeah, that's the typical argument, is that suffering will build character and strength and everything, but they never consider about the suffering that, you know, leads to just death. You know,
that's the end of it. You know,
yeah.
From a Christian's point of view, this is a stopgap. You're here for 60, 70 years, and then you move on to eternity of eternal bliss and all the rest of it. So they have the ability to just shift the blame for this, in their opinion, short period of time, because it's okay. You know, we get to go to heaven, we get to move on. These are all going to burn in hell anyway.
Yeah, and the worst part about that, though, is that it takes focus away from life, from your life, that the only life you're going to have. And the irony is that they're always accusing the atheists of not believing that we have any kind of purpose or a meaning. And while they're living for the purpose and meaning of an afterlife that doesn't exist, that will never come, and, you know, which removes focus from whatever purpose and meaning we can make for ourselves in this life, and they're taking that and just throwing it away for an imaginary character.
Was there, whenever you decided to go and do that, was it, you know, something that you'd planned out, or, you know, the idea of God and Jeffrey? You know, they are
Oh.
a fucking pair. You know, we were just sitting around one day and it was like, come up with this, or was it something that you actually thought about and used as a, you know, a way to move forward? Like,
well, it's been 12 years now since I came up with Jeffrey. I guess I can't take credit for coming up with God, but I just wanted some mundane angel with an everyday name that would debunk God. He could be like the placeholder for my arguments. He could, or my avatar. He could be my avatar. He's essentially me making my points if I were there with God. And I don't really. It wasn't the first video, which is that I ever animated, which is terrible, but the idea was, you know, just like I said, to have a mundane angel that would argue with God. And I just thought it would be funny to put a pot leaf on him instead of a fig leaf. and people liked it a lot, so I decided to make him a reoccurring character. And it wasn't really planned that way, but people, you know, it was just supply and demand. I had plenty of supply and people were demanding it. So
whenever you're doing the voices, whenever you're doing God and whenever you're doing Jeffrey, obviously, you know, we don't, from an atheistic point of view, we're against God and we all want Jeffrey to win. But you're bound to have an awful lot of fun playing God and saying them things and getting away with it. Like.
Yeah, God is I just do an imitation of my dad. Yeah, whenever my dad got pissed, he would get his voice like this, you know, and raise his voice, and you know, he'd have that, and that's what I remember. Like, you little son of a bitch, you know, he would. That's how he would sound. And so I was like, well, I'll just do my dad's voice for God and put an echo on it.
Sort of an authoritarian figure, like, that was from growing up. Then to move to God being the ultimate authoritarian.
Yeah, yeah.
As we were talking just before we come on, my personal favourite is the Corupts series. You know, the length of time and the work that you have put into that. Is the Corupts series written down from start to finish? Have you it in a little secret folder in your desk, or you come across it and, I was going to say make it up, but, you know, think of it as you go along? Is it an ongoing story that evolves, or have you actually got an ending to it?
There's a kind of both going on, where I have an outline that that guides me. But it's not all written out, but I have a general idea of where I want it to go. So when I write an episode, the nuances within the episode will be thought of then, you know, over the period of time that it takes me to write it. But the writing process is in an effort to work toward the end goal of the series. So I don't necessarily know all the little details that are going to happen, you know, 2-3 episodes down the line, but I do know the direction it's going to go.
There is a general overall plan for it, like.
Yes, yeah.
The idea of a simulation is very good. Sort of ties in with one of your other videos. I can't remember the name of it. God's God, where, you know, Jeffrey shoots God and God shoots Jeffrey, and they work their way up and they get Vishnu and all the rest of it and all these other gods, and then after about 6 or 7 layers, they work to this guy just sitting reading a book under a tree, and he's like, yeah, I created every one of these.
Yeah. It's oh gosh, I don't remember the names of my own videos either. I don't remember, but yeah, essentially I think I did a couple of videos where there was a theme of applying the logic we use in this life to the afterlife, where this life doesn't have meaning unless there's an afterlife. Well, you know, what is your meaning in the afterlife if afterlife. You know, it basically, it takes a lot of these arguments and tries to show a infinite regress. God's God. That's what that one was called.
God, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It sort of ties into the Power Corrupt series with the idea of a simulation, that God has been created, and it was God that was put in as a test to see what sort of a person he would be, you know, to fit into the society that it was. And Jeffrey was originally put in to keep an eye on him. He would have been a prefect or you know, like higher up in the school. He was there to keep an eye on him. But
yeah,
the first episode, I think, is like, oh, there's clearly a mistake. He's floating and flying and there's nothing else but water. He's going to realize that this is fucked up. And then you flick to the simulation and you just see God going, wee, and he's having a great time. He doesn't expect it, and then he runs with it, you know. And the idea that he does realize it is a simulation, he is in charge, and Jeffrey tries his best to overcome that and try and fight that. But Jeffrey is sort of laid out as it stands now, from my point of view. In the last episode, he's going to become the devil. And from the whole series through it, we have looked at Jeffrey as the good guy, as the guy there, as the voice of reason. And now, as it stands, it's sort of leaning towards that Jeffrey is going to turn out to be God, or to turn out to be the devil.
Yeah, so the series was originally inspired by a concept that a lot of people mistook as a gaffe from Donald Rumsfeld, in which he talked about unknown unknowns, which is a legitimate concept, but people thought it was a joke. But and that is, there are certain things that you don't know, but you don't know them. Like, for instance, for me, that would be something like advanced calculus. You know, I mean, I know, or Japanese. You know, I know that the language Japanese exists, but I also know that I don't know it. But then there's unknown unknowns. Like, there's concepts that we aren't aware of at all. We don't know. Say there's a language that we never heard of. Not only don't you know the language, you don't even know that language exists. It's an unknown unknown. So it's essentially an omniscience killer, because the concept itself nullifies omniscience. Can God say that there's something that?
Well, as you say, if there's something he doesn't know, how can he know he doesn't know it without knowing it? Again, I think we've already done a video on that as well, where Jeffrey went up to God and confused him with that. Right.
It's difficult to put into words on the fly. I usually spend time writing this stuff out so that it makes sense. But and that's the premise: is if God is, so God is like a student, and the test is how he will handle ultimate power. In order to test this, you know, his memories are temporarily removed, and he is made to believe that he has the omniscience and omnipotence and omnipresence, and he's made to believe he has these properties. He's put in a simulation, and the objective is to see how he handles being a god. Does he believe he's a god? Yes. Does he believe he knows everything? Yes. Is that true? No. There's something that he doesn't know, and that's that he's just a kid in a simulation. And the dilemma currently, I'm just finishing up part 18 in this series, and the dilemma currently is that he, because of some shenanigans by another student, God was able to learn that he's in a simulation, so he's deliberately, he made it nice, he made it good, and he's basically a monster, and he's deceiving, he's gaming the test, and Jeffrey doesn't want him to succeed in the test because number one, it's not accurate, and number two, the test results determine his position in society. He could gain real power if he does a good job on the test. So, but Jeffrey, he has a thing in the story where he's kind of like an activist, where he considers simulated people as being legitimate people, real people.
Yes. That
so
episode with the guy and the daughter and sort of back and forth, or the son, I think it was very, very good, and it showed that he was attached to the simulated people.
Yeah. Jeffrey doesn't see a difference between simulated people and real people. They have emotions and thoughts and hopes and dreams and everything, and for all intents and purposes, they are people, except they're just based on a different medium. And Jeffrey has this dilemma where his objective should be to destroy this world so that Yahweh fails his test, so that he doesn't get power in the real world. But if he does that, he's destroying real people, people that he believes are real people. So that's Jeffrey's dilemma.
Yeah, and the last 5 minutes of the last part, Corupts, really did show that, where him and Lucy, and they escaped to the gateway to get back to the original one, and had realised, because Lucy had come in, she'd created the back door. God has then realised, or Yahweh has then realised, shit, this is what this actually is. I need to get my act together. And he's twisting everything and creating this wonderful world, so as you say, he can gain a better stature in society. So Jeffrey is now going, fuck, you know, he's going to pass. Do I become and destroy these people? And as you say, that's the dilemma that he's facing now. So we're all very excited to see the next episode coming out, whenever it comes out. Like,